G'day folks, and welcome back to the channel for part number 13 of my Drain Essence Apostate playthrough with Manfredia. In between episodes, I went ahead and killed Galacrus the Mountain a few more times, and I managed to get myself a vigorous Singe plating of Scorching, which is useless. But I also managed to get a... I mean, this is pretty similar to what I have, right? This is just a higher level base, so you can see the armor value has almost doubled, which tells me that the insulating of Maven's Wit that I'm currently wearing is actually not a level 50 base item. It's probably a level 30 something base item. And this one that I've just dropped is level 55 base item, and also the affixes are probably around about level 50 to 55 as well. So good news is I keep the relatively high vitality conversion. I've got percentage spirit instead of flat spirit, which I suspect is going to be more spirit. And then I've got a little bit less elemental resistance, a little bit more bleeding, and then some piercing resistance, which honestly is not horrible. So I'm going to swap that one in. And then I also had some gear from the previous episode that I found here. I've got some Stonehide Imperial Handguards of the Wolf, which I am going to lose the Aether Lightning proc there to use these, but the armor value is about double. The health is, it's a little bit less, but it's not that much less, and I get 3 resistances instead of 15% chaos resistance. The biggest loss here is going to be the casting speed, but I think I'm okay with that. Next change was the Cleric's Imperial Leg Guards of the Void, and this one I'm just wearing because it's 200 extra armor, and the resistances are kind of okay. I've got piles of bleeding resistance. The skill points on the leg plates of Valor don't apply to this character. The only thing I'm really losing is the physical resistance, which, I mean, I would like to keep that, but I like armor a lot more while I'm leveling up. I also found this from the weed vendor in the Ancient Grove. This is from Vinylton. And +3 to Word of Agony is kind of nice. It's a nice to have. The reason I bought this, though, was the piercing, poison, and vitality resistance. And they're actually pretty big numbers as well. The of Frostbite part of this ring is effectively worthless. I don't really do cold damage. So that's kind of whatever. The elemental is also yeah, but a little bit of health, some energy regen, piercing, poison, and vitality. I think I'm going to swap out Cronley's Signet, and all of my resistances are still good. Now, I am way over on vitality, so actually I could quite happily swap these two out for some more life, which I am going to do. I don't have those components on me, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would just do it now. And I'm definitely going to be able to replace these pants very, very quickly, because they are just kind of mid, actually. And I'm being very generous when I say mid. So I'm going to swap those out pretty fast. And the rest of the gear is just kind of alright. This ring is actually okay. Piercing resistance as standard. Poison and elemental on top of that. The problem is it's quite an old ring. Being level 20, that's 40 levels ago. 37 if you want to be exact. And it's definitely getting old. So it's time to replace it. You absolutely can go shopping in the Ancient Grove and just buy yourself a pair of really good living rings. Just reset it a few times, spend like 20 minutes, and just get 2 rings that are kind of like this one. And that'll be fine. You know, if you got a harmonious living ring of anything, it's probably going to replace this one. Although, to be fair, this is also a harmonious prefix, so, you know, take that for what you will. Let's see, no augments on these yet, and I want to keep the item. There we go. Do I need any resistances? Do I have any holes? Not really. And I don't currently have the additional Aether and Chaos resistance from Steel Resolve here at the moment either. So once I push that, we've got 21 over, 8% over. And I've always got, a few other rings kind of in the hole, as it were. And I could quite happily put any of these on. Maybe not the Slith Primal Ring, but this is also the Elite version, and in another 10 levels or so, we will have the Ultimate version available. All right, so now that I've kind of gone over my gear changes, let me go ahead and get some Corpse Dust for the rings, just for more health, because why not? And let's have a look at the armor here. The helmet is definitely a little light on armor. My feet are level 50. That's kind of fine. What else have we got here? That's probably the worst pieces, the helmet and the feet. I'm okay with the armor values at present. I would definitely like more, but you can't always just get more. So I'm chucking Corpse Dust on here. This is Vitality Resistance, which I don't really need, but it's also 4% extra health, which, I also am decently high over the accepted minimum for level 57, which would be 5,700. So I'm pretty happy with how I'm looking here. One thing I will say, though, is that this is the Port Valbury episode. I want the... Let me double check here. I'm pretty sure it's Egrad. I should have had the Grim Tools open again. My apologies. Let me just go ahead and do that right now. I had the plan active. Yes, it is the Chains of Egrad. I want that belt because 60% vitality converted to Aether damage, plus this, that's 95%. Plus or minus 20% because, well, actually, it's just minus. The 95% is the max I'm going to get here. Technically, 96% is the max you can get between the Galacros Dread Plating and the belt, the Chains of Egrad. So I'm very unlikely to get the max conversion, and I will be losing +1 to my skills to get it, but I do think it's worth it. We have decent amount of flat vitality damage here, which I'd like to convert. We also get a not insignificant amount of vitality damage on the Retaliation on Spectral Wrath, which I would like to convert. So getting that is probably more of a damage upgrade than the Lunar Vargoth belt with the +1 skills. Now, you might be asking yourself, Paikis, why are you running out to Steps of Torment? That's not where Port Valbury is. What are you doing? And the answer is I need to go get the blueprint for the skeleton key. I'm allergic to paying for stuff that is available as a quest reward, so I'm just going to go do the quest, which does require me to kill Zathuzalan, which I'm okay with. I can do that. That's no problem. If you are following along, I do want to state right now that Port Valbury is optional. Okay, if you have a +1 to Necromancer skills belt, that will do the job. You do not have to do this. You can just go ahead and skip to the next episode because this episode is going to be Port Valbury. And I know a lot of people don't like Port Valbury, which is fine. I personally don't really mind it all that much. There's a few things that kind of suck, like the Aether Tornadoes are annoying. But the Poison Tornado from the Ancient Grove is also annoying. So it's not that big of a deal to me. But this vitality to Aether conversion is absolutely optional. You don't have to come in here. You don't have to get it. Feel free to skip it completely and just keep the +1 to Necro skills, and you'll just be fine. But for anyone who wants I guess, a guided playthrough of Port Valbury, that's what this episode's going to be. And let me state again, that's all this episode is going to be. So if you're at this point and you are not interested in Port Valbury, I will do my best to make sure the rest of this episode only includes Port Valbury and probably a level up or two, which you can just see from the Grim Tools at the end in the description. But I'm going into Port Valbury, and I'll probably end up doing the Steps of Torment for that medal at some point as well. I know everyone complained last time that this was, you shouldn't be going into Skeleton Key dungeons for a beginner playthrough. Well, that's why I've been calling it a playthrough and not a beginner's build guide, because it isn't. And I knew I'd be going into at least Port Valbury and probably Steps of Torment later on as well. But for now, just Port Valbury. Just going to grab whatever belt drops and be on my way. And I'm kind of hoping for a rare prefix or suffix with some resistances. But if I just get magic items drop, which is somewhat likely because we're still in normal difficulty, if that's all I can get, then that's all I can get, and I'll get another belt later. So that's the plan. Cheers to everyone who sticks around, and for anyone who doesn't want to do Port Valbury or doesn't want to watch me doing it, firstly, why aren't you interested in watching me suffer? But yeah, no, that's fine. Totally understand. All right, with that said, the first step in getting into Port Valbury is unfortunately killing Zarthuzalan. You can see I have the quest here, Descent into Torment. The reward for this quest is the blueprint for a skeleton key. And I think you actually get a skeleton key as well. Don't quote me on that one. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to go ahead and kill him. Now, he does a lot of fire damage, and I'm not exaggerating here. He does tons of fire damage. Fortunately, a lot of it is in the form of burn damage, which we kind of just hard counter with Inquisitor Seal. As long as you're standing in the Inquisitor Seal, that is. A lot of you can see I'm standing in fire, and it's just not hurting. So, if you can get the Inquisitor Seal, it is very, very powerful. All right, let's see that, and what do I win? I got a blueprint for the skeleton key, so I can craft them now, and I got a skeleton key. Excellent. And that's as far as I'm going for now. I will likely, at a later date, go into the Steps of Torment. I may leave that one until Ultimate. Ilgor is a little bit rippy compared to what we're going to be doing in Port Valbury. He's quite rippy, actually, because the goal in Port Valbury is get the Devotion Shrine, kill Watcher Egrad, and then probably leave. I'm not doing the full thing. Having said that, though, the boss of Port Valbury is considerably less dangerous than... maybe not less dangerous than Ilgor, but definitely nowhere near as dangerous as Gargle Balls. So let's run on out there. There is going to be a lot of Aether damage. So, I mean, honestly, by this point in the game, your resistances should be maxed out. But if they're not, Aether is the highest priority, then probably all of your elemental stuff, and then the rest. But honestly, it should just be everything should be maxed by now. All right, let's get it. I've been through this section before. I'm going to skip through it relatively quickly, and maybe even a little recklessly, if I'm being honest, because I do tend to leave stuff alive that I shouldn't. But it should be fine. There will be Aether Crystals in this episode. Oh yes, there will be crystals. Let's just go ahead and kill these, take my 2 drops, and get off the goop. I'm going to be very liberal with the use of healing potions when I need to be. And the area that we're heading into is very dangerous, even if nothing attacks you the whole time you're in there. So you definitely do have to have your head on a bit of a swivel here. And other than that, it's going to be great. It's going to be fine. I don't know why everyone hates Port Valbury. Actually, that's a lie. I know exactly why they hate it. It just doesn't bother me. Once you know where you're going, you're probably fine. Also, keep your healing button, your healing potion ready to go. Keep Word of Renewal on the go. And welcome to Port Valbury. Now, I get a player buff here, so this is my crits do 20% more damage. Great. Unfortunately, the enemies also get some burn damage, and they get extra casting speed and skill cooldown reduction, which I think I'm okay with that. Alright, at the start of the Port Valbury section here, there's not a whole lot going on. Alara Starfire here just gets to kind of die, and I'm going to kill these things as they come around the corner. I'm standing in my Inquisitor Seal, and just holding right click, honestly. This little section here, at the start, doesn't have a whole lot going on. However, there is an Exalted Stash in here, which is going to be the first kind of thing that I want to get to. It has, I think, 3 or 4 potential locations where it could be, and I'm going to go to all of them until I find them. These things here, this will just chase me for a little bit. There's nothing I can do about it, and it's just going to have to kind of be something that I'm constantly worried about catching up to me, and there'll be extras kind of on the way, as it were. And it's just something you're going to have to deal with. Now, I definitely still believe that there is no such thing as Aether Crystals, except for the ones from Elite. The ones from Elite are tainted. You don't want those ones. Actually, that's totally not true. Aether Crystals are really, really good no matter where they come from. Okay, this is going to be the first stop on the road to give me my Exalted Stash. Unfortunately, that Aether Tornado thing has caught up with me, which I don't love. And here it is. Here's my Exalted Stash. So I have now found my Exalted Stash. I'm going to grab this stuff, and I'm running away from this thing. There's a few different ways you can go here. That is a trap, so let's just get ready to fight the big boy when he comes out of the ground. Ethereal Abomination. There he goes. And we had a tornado there. Alright, so Necromancer, putting it into the bar, extra stats going into Spirit, and getting out of the tornado. So, like I said, there's a few ways you can get up here, but once you have checked the house that I just found my Exalted Stash in, you want to basically just head towards the top middle of the area. The Skeleton Key dungeons, if you don't know where you're going, this is a very good candidate, I guess, for using the Grimtools map, because it will show you all the little things that are kind of hidden, if that makes sense, and you can get some good loot out of it. I am more or less heading to the devotion point at this point, because I like additional power, and the devotion is one way to get that. A lot of the Aether Crystals in this area, a lot of them, are going to be abominations waiting to come out of the ground. It's just how it is, and you're going to have to kill a few of them at least. Alright, let's go ahead and kill the Aether Crystals here. There's a lot of kind of like weak ethereals in this section. Port Valbury is actually from the base game, I believe, or at least from before the Ashes expansion. So all of these are just regular ethereals. None of them are Ethereal Vanguard. All right, this is our next location for Exalted Stash. It's in, I think, pretty much just here, but in this section somewhere is your second location to go ahead and check. And I'm going to keep pushing. I want to go back for this, actually. So it's time to stop pushing. And let's go around this way. Got some more Aether Crystals to get this way, so I like those. You can see that hidden spoils just there. I'm going to go ahead and grab that in just a moment. If I can remember how to get in there. It has been quite a while since I've done Port Valbury. Generally speaking, most of the people who watch my videos, for whatever reason, don't like Port Valbury. Probably because most people who play the game don't like Port Valbury. But I do tend to avoid it just because of that, and because I do a lot of sort of beginner's guides and play-alongs and stuff like that. Bismill's Domination, and grab all of these, and these guys can just get the suck. Alright, Devotion Point into the Reaper, or the Revenant, sorry. Extra Vitality Resistance, kind of worthless, but it is what it is. The other location for the Exalted Stash is kind of down here. There's like a big field, almost, and it's on the side of the field. I guess I should run down there and just show it. I'll run down and show it. I'm going to be a little bit off, because like I said, I'm definitely a little rusty when it comes to Port Valbury, but I'm pretty sure it's sort of on the side of this field, or it might be I think there's two, but yeah, I'm thinking it's along the edge of this fence, but I could be wrong. It might be over here on this this field. It has been a little while, as I said, so it's somewhere kind of here-ish. I'm pretty sure it's not in the house, but there's another spot there. And I want to say those are the only spots, but I definitely could be missing one. Anywho, this is the Herald of the Stars. This is the boss before you get into the Port Valbury Skeleton Key Dungeon. There's the key door behind him. You pretty much have to kill this guy before you can... well, before you can get into the actual Skeleton Key Dungeon. And I do want to get into the Skeleton Key Dungeon, because that's where the loot that I want is. So, pretty much just going to beam this guy down. Again, standing in the Inquisitor Seal means this Aether Goop that I'm standing in, and I am absolutely standing in Aether Goop, but it's doing a lot less damage, basically no damage, because I'm standing in that. If it wasn't maxed out, then it would really, really hurt. Alright, I've picked up the Monster Infrequent from him. 24% weapon damage to drain essence is quite good. Unfortunately, Aether converted to cold damage is really, really bad when you're doing an Aether build. Also, I said I was going to come over here and grab this. Come on, I know it's here somewhere. There we go. Lightbringers is not horrible. And do I have any pants yet? Did I pick up any pants at all? No. No, I have not picked up any pants. That is quite unfortunate. Anyway, it is what it is. Alright, so, once again, once you go through this door, that's it. You're stuck in there. You can't come out. So if you need to go back to Homestead to sell, now is a good time to do it. I doubt very much that I'm going to need 3 of these bags, but I am going to go ahead and sell this anyway, just in case. And it will be fine. Let's have a quick look at some rare rings here. I'm kind of not loving most of those. Yeah, that'll do. I'm not going to bother banking this, but you absolutely can. Again, last check for resistances. If you don't have everything capped, remember you have resistance potions. Check your armor here as well. Make sure you don't have any massive holes in your armor. 700 on my helmet I don't love, but considering the best piece I have is a purple piece of level 50 gear, it's kind of okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. Right, let's get into it. There we go. Port Valbury gates have been opened. Make haste, as they will not remain so for long. This is actually true. As soon as we go in here and go through the sewers or whatever it is to get into the actual Port Valbury, I feel like there's a lore note in here somewhere as well. This place is full of lore notes, by the way. If you haven't been through Port Valbury and just read all the lore notes, highly recommend. Also, I will note that this is almost never open. In fact, I don't think it's ever been open. So don't expect to just go through there and be done. You almost always have to go around. And that's by design, I'm sure. So we're just fighting regular ethereals, which is good, because the ethereal vanguard is considerably more dangerous. Not that these guys can't give you issues. They definitely can. And I am killing the Vanguard, the guys who can drop the flesh warp stuff. Flesh warp plate mail I'm not going to be using since I have the Galacrose stuff. But maybe the shoulders could be good. Maybe they'll get a good helmet. My current helmet is not particularly amazing. Having said that though, 7 more levels and I'll have the Dreeg hat, assuming I have the reputation to buy it. Which, to be fair, is not a safe assumption. Definitely may not have that. Alright, so we got some mages here as well. These ones are not the same as the ones in Malmoth. So they're not going to drop anything fun. So Ironside Hulk, I mean, honestly, I could definitely just not kill all this stuff. That would be fine. But this is XP, and we are in a forbidden domain, which, I mean, I should have looked at this. Cooldown's really nice, total health is annoying, fire damage don't care, and yeah, okay. So they just basically got more health. Which, yeah, I don't love that. Alright, with that said, let's head into Port Valbury proper. So this is kind of the skeleton key part of the dungeon. It is split into 2 kind of halves, and this is the first half. You'll know when you get to the second half because there's a whole lot more aether goop on the ground, and there's a big gate that you have to walk through to get to it. Now, I definitely recommend coming through here with the map open on grimtools.com on your second screen if you have one, or maybe on a mobile or something, because there's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of lore notes, which have some actually pretty cool stories in them. And there's just a lot of stuff to find. There's a whole bunch of event type things where they lock you in a small area and you have to fight waves of enemies. There's a lot of that sort of stuff. Port Valbury it's pretty fun in my opinion. There's a lot to do, there's a lot to see. There is a totem. I believe there's only one, and I'm pretty sure it's ancient aether warped. So technically you could get what are they called? The Vanguard. You could get them in here. But generally speaking, you're going to get a lot of, well, these guys are actually really annoying. You're going to get a lot of the weaker ethereals, but not entirely just the weaker ones. There is a treasure trove. There is a totem. There are, I think, 2 different little events where you get a chest for killing a certain number of things. First one's kind of over here, which this being blocked off kind of sucks because it means I have to go the long way around. So I guess we'll do that. There is also a merchant in here, like all of the other skeleton key dungeons. So we can buy some monster infrequents if they happen to have any that we're interested in. I don't think they will, but I've been wrong before, so, you know, maybe. Okay, Reinhardt, what's his face? Beautiful. Thank you for the free loot. Shame you put it on the Aether Fire, which is really annoying. Alright, here's Watcher Ordas. Now, this is not the guy that we want. He will have a +2 something belt. This might be the Shaman one. What do we got? Chains of Ordas, Demolitionist. Okay. That's fine. Like I said, he's not the one I wanted anyway. But it is definitely good that he is no longer with us, as it were. And here's my totem. Now, this is definitely something you can consider optional if you're playing hardcore. This is an ancient totem. And the ancient totems definitely can be a bit rippy. There's no 2 ways about it. They can be quite scary. These things have a lot of health, so I'm glad that my damage is okay. Totem complete, and we picked up... Okay, these are the pants that I was worried about getting, and you can kind of see why. If I had a spare scaled hide, I would be equipping these immediately. These are basically the best leveling pants in the game, in my opinion, just based on what resistances I tend to need the most while I'm leveling, or I tend to be short on. So these are going to be my pants probably until, well, probably until 94, if I'm being honest, unless I find the mythical version. If I wasn't worried about my armor absorption, I would just put these on. In fact, do I have an Overlord's helmet? No. Okay. These are going in the I'm definitely wearing it later pile, rather than the usual I might wear it later, maybe if I don't forget about it sort of pile. And we don't have a devotion point. Lovely. All right. So this little section here, I think it's this section here that sometimes has a... Oh, hey, it's Locksmere. You stripped all my buffs off me. Lovely. I didn't even notice this. Okay, Locksmere is very, very dangerous. You want to be careful about Locksmere. Locksmere is probably the most dangerous non-environment thing in here. So the fact that I just killed it without really trying, including getting not sundered, but like arcaned, stripping all my buffs off, is really weird and also pretty cool. Pretty cool. Locksmere has a weapon. This is the Frostblade. This is definitely not something I'm going to be using. And Locksmere, I believe, appears at random, or at least has several different places where he, she, it can spawn. I thought this was a potential location for one of the events. Either I'm wrong, which is definitely possible, or it has multiple spawn locations and it's just not here this time. That's kind of fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push on now, and we're just going to try very hard to stay inside the Inquisitor seal and just kill things as they come at me. So more or less want to walk up this road. You can go... Can you go up the side here? I think this rejoins... Yeah, just here. Rejoins back onto the road. And I want to get over to... I'm going the wrong way here, but I found things to kill, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, here we go. You want to get over to sort of this side of the road, and then we want to go through this house. Again, lore notes all over the place in here, and pretty much worth the read. Alright, I am kind of trying to dodge packs whilst also rounding them up to kill them in one go rather than slowly having them trickle in. There's also idiots coming out of the ground here too, so you're going to get a lot of that. Alright, let's move on here. This little section here can be a bit frustrating because, you know, do I go through this doorway? Do I try push down here? It's pretty easy to go the wrong way, or maybe that's just me. Turns out you can't walk through there. Alright, in this area, I don't think there's anything down there. I did see that hero, though, who I want to kill. It's always good to kill manticores because some of them have eyeballs, and we want to kill them. What are you? Reflective. Okay. Well, I'm just going to wait here until you're not reflective anymore, and then I'm going to kill you. Alright, we keep pushing. Grab the journal here, and go around this way, I guess. So this is where I've found Locksmere in the past, since he was moved in here, and out of the... Is it Plains of Strife? Wherever he used to be, he's no longer there, and he was moved in here. I've found him in front of this bridge twice, which is why I kind of assumed that he would just be here. Turns out I'm wrong, which is fun. Aether Blaze, okay. Thank you for the free loot. Love to see that. And this is definitely another area where there is... I think it's pretty much always a room that they lock you into and they just say, keep fighting until we're done, and then they give you a chest. I'm going to wait for my cooldown on the energy potion. I'm going to wait for full mana. Maybe we can eat some lore notes in the meantime. Definitely should have maybe dropped a corpse dust and put a ectoplasm on at least one of my rings. But it's too late for that now. I don't have an ectoplasm. I don't think I'm going to get one. Alright. I think once this gets down to about 5 seconds, I'm going to run in here. And we've got a little bit of a fight on our hands here. So we'll just go ahead and kill these guys. Definitely want to start in on Bonebreaker here. He has the most health in this area by far. And I want to keep standing on the Inquisitor Seal. Okay, Corruptus. Nothing else here looks too particularly scary. Just keep refreshing the seal. There's another level, which you love to see. And I think we're done here, so Corrupted Reliquary. Praetorian set is pretty good. Good luck actually getting the set. But if you can get the set, it is quite good to wear. If we just have a look at it, where did it end up? Where did it end up? There it is. Praetorian Face Guard. It is level 50. But 3 pieces. Face Guard, chest, and shoulder, which does make it kind of hard to wear, but look at the bonuses on the 2 set at least. If I found the shoulders, I would probably put the shoulders and the helmet on. The chest guard might be a bit of a hard sell, though, just for the conversion that I really want. Having said that, you don't need the conversion, so you could definitely wear the set if you find it. Obviously, you have to find it before you can wear it. All right, so I'm heading back to the road now. There's lore notes and stuff over here from memory, but that's not actually why I'm here. In spite of the fact that I'm constantly saying, "Hey, it's really cool. You should definitely read the lore notes." We're here for the Watchers, one of which we've killed so far. This is a trap, so that's fun. And there's also a boss up here as well. Let's go kill him, actually. He doesn't drop anything I'm interested in. He drops, I think it's a one-handed cadence monster infrequent. So we can go kill him. Does a lot of bleeding from memory, or it might be vitality. It's one or the other. But let's just walk up there, see what happens. I'm seeing a lot of ethereals. Surprise. Ethereals in the ethereal dungeon. Wouldn't read about it. Also didn't spend my level up, so that's fun. You'll notice that I'm getting my energy back pretty quickly, and that's because I actually absorb energy, so any goop on the ground is going to give me energy, but it also hurts. so that's a thing. Alright, more stats means more energy, which is more good, and same with spirit, giving me more energy regen. Exactly what I need at the moment. Right, so I think his name is Jiren up here, of Dragon Ball Z fame, or Dragon Ball Super, I think it is, whichever. And he lives just past this door. So I'm going to go fight him, and I'm going to get nothing out of it, but hey, it's a fun fight. By which I mean it's a stat check, and if you don't meet the stats, then, you know, you're going to have a bad time. Definitely evade Sunders, always. I actually don't think I've fought him since he got the Sunder. I don't think I've fought him in this this particular patch. So, good to know that he's still a bit of a pushover, to be honest. There we go. Okay, Aether Warped Cleaver. Yeah, it's a cadence. It's a cadence weapon. What else does it have on it, though? Got bonuses to Deadly Momentum, which is cadence, and Siphon Souls. Okay. And all of the monster infrequent stuff is just cadence. So it's a cadence thing. And we're not playing cadence. So we'll just leave that. Alright, that is all the interesting stuff in Old Town. Let's go to New Town. Probably be a few things I have to kill along here to get there. But that's fine. I did also see... this is bad. I'm standing in a bad spot here. Get me out of the goop. I came up here for the Aether Crystal and it very nearly killed me. You can see that Prismatic Diamond has triggered. I do have the tortoise, but I didn't see the tortoise, but it definitely triggered. So there you go. Nearly died to basically environmental damage there, plus maybe a gun or two. So definitely want to stand in the Inquisitor Seal as much as you can. And now that that's done, we run up the road, and here is the entrance into... is this Newtown? It's Hightown. There you go. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going to go through all of the stuff in here because we are after Watcher Egrad, who I'm pretty sure is in the town square. But he probably has multiple spawn locations. I'm not sure about that. I'm just going to go kill him, and then we're going to leave. As much as I don't hate Port Valbury like a lot of other people seem to, it's also not my favorite place to be, and it is a little bit dangerous at least. So I'm going to get what I came for and get out, basically. Alright, I'm expecting him any second here. But like I said, he might have spawned at one of the other locations where he potentially can live. Is that him? Yeah, there he is. So it's basically Lucius. There he goes. Stalwart of Frostbite. That is very disappointing. I may end up coming back and doing another run in between episodes just to get a belt with some sort of resistances on it. Frostbite is cold damage, and Stalwart, from memory, is defensive ability. It might be physique. I'll have a look here in a second. I'm definitely not going to do the boss of the dungeon, but maybe we could go for a little bit of a run around. It's probably a bad idea. I'll be honest, it's definitely a bad idea. Alright, Chains of Egrad. So Stalwart is, yeah, it's defensive ability. Of Frostbite is cold damage. That is a pretty good conversion amount, though. Let's just have a look here. So if I've got the Drain Essence on my mouse, which means I see it here. 742 Aether, and... okay, I can't wear it anyway. Never mind. Yeah, I don't think there's much else in here. I haven't found the treasure trove yet, but... yeah, maybe I'll go down here. You can see the merchant on the map there. There'll be a set of stairs down pretty much right next to him. In fact, there it is. So we can go down and say hi to him. He's outside. Okay. He does yeah, he's spawned in the terrain. Alright, that's fun. So I don't get to see what the merchant has for sale because he's spawned inside the terrain. Oh no, there we go. So he's got guns. He's got... Alright, look. Listen here, you little punks. He's got Savage. He doesn't really have much that I'm interested in. He also won't buy anything from you, so there's very little point trying to talk to him unless you want one of his monster infrequents. Also, there's a treasure trove spawn somewhere around here. I think it's kind of in this little grassy area. I remember that much at least. There's one more Watcher as well, which since I'm here, I may as well go find him and kill him. But after the next Watcher, it's basically just the boss of the dungeon, and I don't plan on killing him. The last Watcher is going to be somewhere along this road here from memory. Taking a lot of damage here. I'm thinking it's probably physical. Oh, hey. I mean, that's a bit rude. There we go. Watch a Brandis. This should be the Shaman belt. And let's have a look. Shaman belt. Chains of Brandis. Yeah, there's the Shaman one. Which has really good resistances. Why couldn't I get that? Alright, so that's it. We're kind of done here. From this part here, you kind of go across here and then over the street that you walked through at the start. You got to go across this bridge and then up there and there's, you know, the boss. I am definitely not fighting the... what do you mean you can't carry anymore? Is that for real? Of course it isn't. Yeah, Overlord Van Eldritch, I'm definitely not fighting him, so I'm just going to exit the menu here. And actually, I'm going to end the episode here as well. So I will definitely do another run off camera, just to get literally anything with resistances for the belt here. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed something you don't see very often. Almost nobody ever does runs of this place. But that's going to be the end of the episode, so I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye for now.